Hi, and welcome to the Warrior Zone podcast, where we spotlight the voices, stories, and coaches who help people lead with clarity, resilience, and purpose. My name is Kathy Wright, and I'm a coach with the URAWarrior team. And today we're launching this series by introducing you to one of the incredible coaches inside of the URAWarrior ecosystem. Our guest today is Coach Oliver. He's a relationship and executive coach who works with high performing leaders, navigating big decisions, burnout, and growth. In this episode, we'll talk about what led him into coaching, the challenges he sees most often in today's leaders and in relationships. If you're a leader that's seeking clarity or someone who's looking for more meaningful relationships, you're in the right place. Let's step into the warrior zone with Coach Oliver. Welcome, Coach Oliver. How are you?
I am well, thank you. It's good to be here. I'm honored to have this conversation with you. I'm looking forward to it.
I have been so excited waiting to talk with you because you just are a really dynamic coach, and I want everyone to learn more about you. So, welcome to the Warrior Zone podcast, and I want you to give the listeners and our viewing audience a little bit about you.
Absolutely. A little bit about me. I'm a city kid, born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland, to Caribbean parents, and just through a wealth of experiences, I guess. I tell people often I never thought that I'd even end up in the space that I'm in, but as I look back, all of the things that have happened in my life that I thought maybe had no significance to where I am all play a part in where I am. So, city kid, Caribbean parents, musician for a lot of my life, and just always kind of found myself in spaces where communication was a significant component of my experience, or working with individuals, whether it be youth, students, even adults, were part of my experience, kind of all led me into this place of coaching. And it started out in the relationship space. I never even considered doing it, but how it started was my wife and I were part of this marriage group. And we were not the leaders by any means, not even close. We were participants.
Uh-huh.
But people would always ask us, our opinion about things. And, long story short, we were like, you know what, let's just start a blog. We started a blog. The blog mushroomed into YouTube, mushroomed into other things. And then somebody asked us to come alongside them to give them some level of guidance. And I fell in love with that process. And so from there, jumped into getting the certifications, started with relationships, and then that kind of morphed into the corporate space as well, doing relationship building and executive coaching. And so that's where I am. I wrote a book
Yeah.
for men in that process as well. And so that kind of threw me into a space working with men. And I'm just grateful that everything that has happened in life has been significant, because I would have never, 15,
Yeah.
16, 17 years ago, would have never been able to connect those dots.
I love that story because it seemed like you said you were a musician and you just kind of like you were a really great communicator, but you were able to like ride alongside someone who wanted you to support relationship coaching
Yeah.
or just amazing. And then also like in the executive coaching space, like it seems like that would be really a unique kind of combination, but it really works. And I love that you're doing it with your wife.
Yeah. And listen, it has grown us in many areas, right? And so dealing with relationships, both personally and professionally, and me coming from a corporate background, now I'm looking at all the pieces of my life and
Hmm.
the things that I've had to do, and the learning that I've had to do, and the growth that needed to take place, and the self-discovery that needed to take place. And now I'm able to kind of take that and parlay that into helping other people to experience that same level of growth and that same level of self-discovery.
I think so many people are looking for coaches with that kind of experience, the corporate experience, the
Mhm.
relationship work. It is just a tremendous, unique set of skills that you bring to the space, and that we get to have you a part of as part of the You Are Warrior team is just a wonderful gift for all of our users of the app. But so like as you think about like the multiple ways that you're able to create impact, leaning into the executive space, what would you say like executives are struggling with right now? What's a top concern?
There are a couple things coming out of the pandemic. Things really shifted, and I felt like before the pandemic, there was this push for productivity at all costs, right?
Hmm.
Productivity that did not include any level of personal involvement. And then coming out of the pandemic, you had people who were thinking differently. You had the folk who were thinking about leaving the corporate space altogether. And so that was cutting into, executives' workforce, and so many things were happening. They had to kind of take this shift to, okay, we got to care about the people. We got
Yeah.
to care about the people who
Yeah.
actually are doing the work. And so one of the things is really creating that environment and being able to shift into a space where, okay, we care about the productivity, but we care about the individual contributor, the person as well. And just finding that harmony
Hmm.
in that space can be a little challenging because you don't want to go too far right, and we're just, you know having group sessions and eating, crumpets all day. There's work that has to be done as well, right? So
Yeah. There's still a
finding that
bottom
balance.
line.
Right, yeah, finding that balance
Yeah.
between making sure that they are giving some level of holistic care to the individual contributor, and also keeping them in the workforce.
I think you hit it on the head. And I think like I've heard people talk about it as like this quiet quitting that was kind of
Yeah,
a
man, it was
thing.
huge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that
Hmm.
was huge. I think at one point I think they even gave a name to it. It was like the Great Exodus or something like that. Something along
Uh,
those lines, where they talk
yeah.
about people were
Hmm.
just leaving in droves. And so now executors are faced with this decision that they have to make, because you have a workforce that's coming behind those folk who were leaving, that were
Hmm.
saying, "Hey, we don't want to wear suits. We don't want to come into the office. We want to interview in t-shirt." Like, it was all types of crazy stuff that was happening. And now executives are faced with this dilemma. Okay, do I stay strict to what was happening pre-pandemic and my
Hmm.
office end up empty, or I have people wearing multiple hats, or is there some level of shift that we can do that will still allow us to keep our core values in place and still allow us to operate in a way that is in alignment with with what the company stands for. And that was challenging.
And I love that you kind of like talked about it in terms of the executive and how they've had to try to figure out and navigate through that. Would you say there's the same type of thing you've seen in the relationship side of coaching? Have you seen similar trends or where people are trying to navigate post-pandemic differently?
Yes, the pandemic. And it's interesting, my wife and I do a seminar on intimacy, and
Mm,
all holistic intimacy, not just in the bedroom, but holistic, right? And that seminar was actually birthed out of our experience in the pandemic. Because
mm,
in the pandemic, even if you were at a cruise, going along at a cruising altitude in your relationship, the pandemic brought out some things that you just never had the opportunity to slow down long enough to observe. And
mm.
so now you have couples who are like, man, wait a minute, that's how you are? Like, that's what you do, and I think
All
about
that
my
time
wife.
together,
Right,
like,
right. I
wait a
think about my
minute.
wife, my wife, myself. Right, I was working. I was still in the corporate space, as the pandemic was coming on, because I was doing this and working my corporate job as simultaneously until 2021. So now I'm home. Normally, I'm in the office hours and hours and hours on end. By the time you get home, there is a unique routine that happens between when you hit the door and when you go to bed, right?
Mm,
Now, I'm here all day.
yeah.
She already had a routine. She
Yeah.
was a telecommuter. She already had a routine that she
Hmm.
had during the day. My son at the time was being homeschooled, and they had their thing going. And now here comes this stranger dude, you know what I mean? That's like
Yeah.
disrupting their whole day. I'm like, wait a minute, is this what you do? Like, are you this loud in your office? Like, what, and all
Yeah.
these little things, man. But for some people, they became really big things. And
Yeah.
so coming out of the pandemic now, we're learning how to communicate differently. We're learning that, man, I don't really know how this other person likes to even be communicated to.
Mm.
And so I need to learn that, and I need to figure out how to recognize conflict quicker and how to manage it faster and how to get to recovery quicker. And all of these things that we didn't necessarily have to face head on because we
Yeah.
had a routine that kept us from having to face that.
The way that you're talking about it really feels like relationships and had to transform.
Mhm.
Leadership had to transform. Are there any like remarkable stories that you could share with us around transformation that you saw, like from post pandemic, like
Mhm.
through your coaching, where people really had to, like, it impacted their lives? Your coaching had to impact that.
Yeah, so I'll say one of the biggest transformations that I see is in the communication space. So the beautiful thing about being in the relationship space, both personally and professionally, is that a lot of the things that we talk about are transferable. And so coming out of the excuse me, coming out of the pandemic, there weren't there were conversations that didn't take place in the workplace, at least not between C-suite executives and management or individual contributors, right? You have
Mm,
your pockets of people who have, some level of water cooler talk, right?
yeah.
But as it relates to just a holistic environment where team synergy is paramount, there were certain conversations that weren't happening. And now people were coming back from the pandemic saying, "Man, I need these conversations to happen,
Mm-hmm.
but don't know how to have them." Because I've never talked to my C-suite executive about the fact that, my child is sick and I want to be home every day. We just assumed that we had to be in the office. So we figured out our home life on our own, and our boss just saw us produce because that's all our boss was, at least that's what we thought. That was all our boss was concerned about. And
Mm-hmm.
so having these conversations, man, and getting people in a room and watching them have this aha moment that says, I can think of one conversation in particular where the individual contributor was like, "Man, I didn't even realize that this person cared,"
Ah, yeah.
and just the door that opens when you have that level of recognition
Mm-hmm.
now allows you to listen better. Because if I come in the door thinking you don't care, I'm going to present that a certain way. My
Yeah.
body language is going to say that.
Yeah.
The nonverbals are going to say that. And now that that wall is removed, now I'm hearing you differently, and you're hearing me differently. And I've seen relationships form between management and individual contributors that would have never formed prior to the pandemic. There are conversations that happen. There's ways that meetings open now,
Mm.
that they didn't open for before. So you have this time in the meeting where people are like, "Hey, how you doing?"
Mm-hmm.
What?
Yeah.
Why do you care? Like,
Yeah.
just get on with the agenda, and
Yeah.
it's just seeing those things happen, man, and those changes happen, those walls come down. It just brings people together, and I watch teams just go from being just coworkers to family,
I love that. I love that.
just by understanding how to talk and listen to each other.
I love that. And I love that you highlighted it in terms of like communication versus both the verbal and the nonverbal communication. And so
Mhm.
you really like, so you coach teams, you coach individuals as well, and in on all of those things, or?
Yeah, so I work primarily,
Mm-hmm.
if I have to look at like who's my clientele. On the personal side, I work primarily with married couples.
Okay.
So I do coach men specifically because I wrote a book for men, and so kind of put me in that space. And I do coach folks who are dating, but primarily it's married couples on the personal side. On the professional side, it's primarily small teams.
Okay.
So creating that dynamic between individual contributor and management, and then creating a dynamic between teammates and team members.
I think that's fantastic. One of the things that's a hallmark of the You Are a Warrior ecosystem is this idea of group coaching
Mhm.
and the collective kind of growing and learning together and having this common experience where there's a certified coach in the room who's really can kind of shepherd these conversations and give them some new tools on how to navigate through whatever the topic might be.
Yeah.
So I just love that you've been doing that and you've been doing this for how long? How long have you been a coach?
We've been coaching since actually about 10 years now.
Oh, great.
2016 is when I had my first client. 2016. Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Yeah, it's 2026, 10 years. So,
Yes,
yeah,
2026. And I think the need for coaching has skyrocketed.
it has.
You have made reference to the pandemic, but I think
Mhm.
like even like everything post-pandemic has been like on some levels very chaotic and businesses are having to learn how to be different in a space where their employees, their peers are demanding a different kind of experience when they're in the workplace.
Exactly. And that's a lot of what happens in terms of what coaching looks like in that space is really just helping them navigate the newness of this space, right? Because you had some executives that came out of the pandemic with, a certain mindset. Like I can even think about just the corporate company that I worked for, right? There was a certain dress code. There's a certain dynamic in the buildings. There's a certain culture. There's obviously you're gonna if you work for them, you're gonna work there as
Hmm.
opposed to I'm in Maryland just to give context. So you're gonna work in Maryland as opposed to working in California unless you were at a California office and then you would be in California. So now they had to look at, okay, talent is everywhere. And we have people who are leaving who are recognizing that they want to branch out. They want to try something new. They want to start a business. They want to spend more time with family. We have to replace that talent. Are we
Hmm.
going to stick to the very stringent way that we did this before? Or are we going to open this up to look at talent from elsewhere? And in doing that, because that was a big thing, and in doing that, are we going to have these folk, if I find somebody in California who is a phenomenal fit, am I going to require them like we normally would have to require them to relocate?
Hmm.
Or are they going to be able to stay in their living room and work? And so there was all of these little shifts, and they seem like really small things, but on the corporate level, man, these were big things that people had huge conversations about because you had a group of people who did not want to deviate from that.
Hmm.
We don't care what you were going through in the pandemic. I need you to show up in this building 3 days a week.
Yeah.
It don't talk to me about what was going on in your life. Just come. Like you had those people, but then you started to see that, and and I love this term. Somebody just said this to me the other day. You had these people who started firing their bosses.
Oh, how so?
And that's just a clever way of saying I don't want to work here anymore because
Oh,
I don't feel like you value
yeah.
me
Hmm.
as a person.
Mm.
It was big after the pandemic. It was bigger than what I can bring to the table in terms of my skill set and your bottom line. It was, do you value me as a person? And if I don't feel like you value me as a person, then maybe this relationship, you start to hear those words, maybe this relationship isn't the right one. And people are thinking, wait a minute, there was no relationship to begin with.
Ah.
And that's where the coaches came in. Yes, there was a relationship. It just wasn't the dynamic that you thought it was, or it's not the dynamic that's conducive to your success moving forward. How do we fix that?
And I mean, you bring up so many good points, but I do think like at the core of what you shared is like you have to be intentional in the space to make it different, to make it more inviting and safe
Yeah.
for people to continue to work in a space. And it starts with, like you said, the communication. How are you communicating the expectation? How are you communicating the care?
Yeah.
um, in that space so that you will have people who want to be in that space doing that work.
Yeah. And what people are realizing is at first we just had to buy into the culture. And if you buy into the culture, then we expect you to perform at a certain rate. Now people are saying, okay, yes, you buy into the culture, but you also feel like you're a valued member of the culture. And
Mm,
that is taking productivity to a whole nother level. You value me, you care about me, we can have conversations. I'm not just a number on your spreadsheet. I'm actually a person that you call into the office and have regular check-ins and one-to-ones with. And we're not just talking about, the bottom line, but we're talking about, my life. Like, wow, you care. And they just latch on
yeah.
in a way that is just phenomenal for the organization.
And I mean, I'm just really impressed with how you've been able to navigate in this space and do the tremendous work that not only you but also with your wife, like the two of you working in this space, supporting organizations and individuals, those that are looking that are in relationships, etc., looking to like increase their ability to communicate in a way that really adds value, not just to themselves, but also to whatever system they're inside of. So I really love that, and I just I'm interested in knowing how someone what appealed to you, I should say, what appealed to you about becoming a part of the You Are a Warrior ecosystem.
Well, what I loved when I was first introduced, the thing that I really loved was this space that would be created for people to just come and be empowered, right? You have people who are in silos. There's phenomenal coaches all over the country that are in silos, but this experience brings all of those folks together from
Hmm.
all walks of life and all backgrounds and all disciplines into this one place where I, who need something, can come in almost to like this. I kind of call it the coaching mall. Like you could just
Yeah.
come into this coaching shopping center and everything is there laid out for you, and you can and I love that. And not I don't know that exists. At least not like this.
I don't think it
Yeah.
exists with the level of diversity and the
Yeah.
level of intention that has been we've really worked on now for going on, oh God, I want to say 5 years, like
Mhm.
really helping to be smart about what the user experience would be, and then being
Yeah.
very thoughtful about getting excellent coaches to be a part of the ecosystem. It's been an important thing for us to really navigate through and ensure that we offer a full range of coaches who have really diverse backgrounds, but who can speak to the things that you've talked about, right? The executive presence, executive engagement with their team. The things that you shared are things that we've heard from organizations who are looking for real solutions for their wellness applications and programs that they're using inside of their organization. So the You Are Warrior platform is excellent, as you shared, a really different model that allows the individual and groups to be on and work together in a group with Coach Oliver or with any other coach who might be there with the specific niche that they're looking for.
Yeah.
So as you think about working with You Are Warrior and being on the app, is there anything that you would want to share with the listeners, with the viewers around the importance of mental health and well-being?
I think it's very important. We're seeing so much now. There's a lot of talk about this, right? Way more talk now about it than ever before, and it's important because we want to thrive holistically, and so that means there's going to be a physical component, there's going to be a mental component, there's going to be a spiritual component, there's going to be a psychological component, right? Emotional component, and the beautiful thing about the URA Warrior experience is that all of that can be addressed in this space. And so it has to be important. Like it's not
Mhm.
even a question now of is it important? It's just established that it has to be important. If you are looking to thrive holistically and you want to be, a person of integrity, and you want to be able to manage your mental load, and you want to have great relationships, and the list goes on, you have to make that a priority. You have to make your mental health a priority and your mental stamina and how you are navigating your space and your world. It's crucial.
I think you're spot on in terms of what people need to know and understand about mental health and their well-being overall. And so thank you so much for like sharing with us your story and talking with us around some of the key spaces that you love to coach in. And how can people find you outside of the You Are a Warrior app? Do you have a website? You also mentioned your book. I don't want to miss you sharing with us how to get your book.
Sure. The book is entitled Overcoming the Man Laws, LAWS, for the man who wants to be his best despite what he was taught. And you can grab that on Amazon. You can get that on Amazon. You can get it on our website as well, which is Denali, D as in David, E, N as in Nancy, OLI.org. And social media, we're everywhere. Denali LLC, that's the handle. Denali, DENOLI LLC, everywhere. We would love to connect with folks. You'll find, I think what I love about our experience is that we are, what you see is what you get. So we are who you see we are when you come and hang out with us on social media or on the website. And listen, at the end of the day, the goal is to share our experience in hopes that it will encourage and inspire others on their journey. So we're sharing our journey so that it will help somebody else.
Well, I'll have to, I say this with all sincerity. Coach Oliver, you are quite an inspiration. You and your lovely wife are wonderful coaches, and we're so excited and happy that you're a part of the You Are Warrior ecosystem. And we want all of our listeners and all of our viewers to tap into the You Are Warrior app. Schedule a session with Coach Oliver. If you're having you want to talk to someone about relationships, if you want to talk to someone to have executive coaching, Coach Oliver is a tremendous choice. Thank you so much, Coach Oliver, for sharing your heart, for sharing your story, sharing your leadership in this space. Again, if you're watching and you're ready to grow, you're ready to heal, you're ready to lead with greater clarity, you're ready to have more powerful relationships where communication is much more empowered and life affirming, then you can explore coaching through the You Are Warrior app and in particular through Coach Oliver. So thank you again for being a part of our podcast today, Coach Oliver. This has been the Warrior Zone podcast, where strength is built from the inside out, and we'll see you next time.